Hi there. Hi. Hi there. I am luckily ASMR, and this will be somewhat of a change from what I regularly do. There won't be any whispering in this video, but there will be a lot of soft-spoken and close-up and far-away movements and whispers. It will kind of be like a anticipatory sort of video, like some of my regular videos can be. But in this case, I will just be doing the same thing, just without whispers and instead with a softer voice. Softer, regular speaking. You know, the regular. And I was both kind of inspired by a fellow ASMRtist that I forgot the name of, but I will put in the description just because I noticed that a lot of his videos were just great. He did this sort of moving around, left, right, in the middle, whatever, while also periodically just talking almost normally, essentially, and then coming around to one side and saying something, then coming around to the other side and saying something, and it just worked. It really worked, in my opinion. And as someone that really uses whispering a lot, I thought I could shake it up a bit with something that was a bit different and yet similar to what I usually do. I've never really thought of my voice as particularly soothing or enjoyable or anything along those lines, but to many of you, to at least around 14,000 currently, it seems to have had some sort of effect as like the main thing that I do on the channel. So I definitely wanted to give you more of that, but in more of a different type of tone, a different voice, because my normal voice, oftentimes, at least a lot of you guys, when I did a few of these soft-spoken videos, you guys mentioned that I sounded quite a bit different when I was talking like this, rather than when I was talking and whispering. The same thing could be said for some certain comments that I got when I was doing either videos in Serbian or in some other languages, where my voice would just change a bit and I would sound a lot different than I did most of the time in regular videos. So it's also something that I've been told oftentimes, like in regular life. I remember the most prominent example of that would be when I was doing like how do I actually call it? What's the best word for this? It might be oral exams. When I was doing oral exams and had to answer questions or something along those lines, when I sit next or actually opposite to a professor, my voice would change. Its tone would kind of go up, and I would stand straight and I would like attempt to impress in a way and like seem confident, though my legs would still very much be twitching and I tended to have this problem where I would just kick my foot a lot all around when I was nervous. I would hop, in essence, and I had a really big problem with that, but and a part of that was, of course, the whole trying to be confident and stuff, and that did sometimes help, but my voice did still pretty much remain the same, different voice when I talked to professors. And a lot of my friends in class told me about it, and I was like, really? My voice changes that much? I didn't notice it, and except one time when I did notice it, when it wasn't a really important oral exam. I was just doing something regularly, it wasn't really an oral exam at all. It was more of a exercise that we were doing in class, and I paid attention to it. I literally tried to see how differently I talked, and I noticed it. It wasn't really that noticeable by me because you know, a person can't hear their voice in the same way that other people hear it. And when you, for example, hear your voice in recordings, and when you hear it in, and mostly recordings, videos, anything else, any other way that isn't hearing it from your own ears when it comes from here, because in that case, like, everything is going in these directions, mostly upwards. The only thing that you're hearing is essentially either echoes that are hitting other stuff, or just the small, really minute details that are somehow getting to your ear over here. So yeah, you definitely hear your voice, and I definitely hear my voice a lot differently than it is. I know I've often been annoyed by this in many ways, because I've always thought of my voice as both high, like quite high, because I'm a tenor in singing as far as male voices go, but at the same time it's kind of deep at times. At least, I mean, not as deep as some people. Like, I know a lot of people that have really nice deep voices, but in general it just wasn't, my voice wasn't that deep, but I did feel like it was deeper, especially since when I was a kid, I used to have a really screechy voice, and I could scream really like a girl, really like a girl, and it sounded quite girly. And fun fact, I can no longer scream. I currently just sound like a velociraptor when I try and scream. It's just a really kind of disturbing sound that I make, and yeah, hopefully you guys never get to hear that. But in any case, yeah, I had this really different voice, and even then I used to sing. I used to be in the elementary school choir, and at that time the professor used to tell me that I had a really good singing voice, and I was like really proud of that. But then it started, puberty hit, and I started, I think mutating isn't the word, but like it started changing, and it got kind of deeper, but at the same time really weird sounding, to me at least, especially when I heard myself recorded. So it was definitely completely new to me, and I felt like I couldn't sing anymore. Like, it wasn't just the voice that people told me that I could sing in. It was something completely different, and not something that I wanted, really. But over some time, and by trying out for my high school choir, which one of my friends basically made me do. I wasn't really planning on it. I was like, yeah, sure, why not? But she was an actual singer, and she was really good at it. She was like in a band and everything, and she didn't make it. She didn't end up in the choir, which, is a thing. Choirs are just a lot different than regular solo singing. It's quite a bit different. So it wasn't that big of it. She was very distressed and annoyed, and I totally understood her. And the most baffling thing is that I made it, and I was like, I just went because I could, and I didn't expect to get through if she didn't get through. And when that happened, I was just like, how exactly did this happen? But it did. And unfortunately I didn't spend much time in the choir. Instead, I spent it doing basketball and, sports, and, specifically basketball, which I didn't love as much as I did singing. But, I thought that I had a chance of getting like a scholarship or something for the US or something different, but it wasn't my calling. It's a even longer story, but yeah, I honestly wish that I had stayed in the choir at least for some time, despite the fact that I wasn't really doing great with my grades. I was doing okay, but I didn't really have time to do choir stuff, which was literally just reading sheets of notes and stuff, and like learning how to sing it and actually practicing, and I never did that in the year that I was there. Despite that, I did manage to be a part of the choir and go to a few performances, one specifically in which people could actually come and see me perform as one of them. But the most, I can't say regretful, but like the thing that I wish I had stayed for the most was something that we called, I think it's the Green Love Festival. It's like a like a thing in our high school, gymnasium, whatever, where depending on who you are, you can give like a sort of how do I actually call it? It's not a recommendation to the how do I call him? The maestro, our professor. That was the main person that was guiding us and being with us when we were doing different choir stuff. You could tell him like a song that you wanted to perform solo, usually solo. You could do it in a duet and stuff, but the song I think had to be older than like 15 or 20 years before the current year, so it had to be quite old. And I personally wasn't really, and I still am not, somebody that listens to older music. I'm more of a newer music type of guy, and I still wanted to perform. I really wanted to perform solo and like show what I could do and actually do something publicly, even though I'm terrified of it. I at the same time love public speaking and hate it, because I'm both good at it and extremely anxious when it comes to it. Like, I've only had a few situations where I've actually had to like speak and perform in front of more than like a class of people, only a handful of times. And I still loved all of those times, despite the fact that I was so goddamn anxious. They always kind of went well. I always got a good reception, especially since I love making presentations. I love doing them, and it's just really fun for me to illustrate something that I find interesting in an interesting way to people, and that then might make them more interested in the topic. Especially if it's not a very well-known topic. But yeah, I love to do that. And well, public speaking oftentimes gives me the chance to like do that. But yeah, I don't really know. I like how I just started off talking about like soft speaking and the choir and my voice and its changing and everything, and ended up in like public speaking and presentations. But specifically, public speaking is like kind of like YouTube. You'd think that it's really similar because like I'm in front of a lot of people technically, around 14,000 as I said, if all of those people do end up watching the video. But it just doesn't feel that way. I don't feel the pressure in the same way as I feel it when I'm actually live in front of people. I kind of managed to completely distinguish those two. And of course the fact that I can redo stuff, that I can re-release stuff, that I can re-record something, I can delete certain areas if I did something stupid or retarded or who knows what else. But yeah, it gives you the option to make mistakes, which you don't really get in real life, which is, the scariest part of it all. Because even though in reality, that doing that sort of thing, like speaking publicly, and even if you make a small mistake, usually people won't really notice it or like make fun of you or anything like that. But you're like mostly scared of making big mistakes. But at the same time, even the small mistakes really make you anxious and really make you like, oh god, everybody's gonna notice that, everybody's gonna hate that, and I specifically really think that I end up being unprofessional if I make like a slight mistake or something. But even that's not the case. So yeah, it's a really really weird connection between YouTube and public speaking. And I know I've heard quite a few times that there's like an entire kind of science to public speaking and how it works and how to be less anxious and everything. And like the thing that I've most felt like helps me is being 100% sure that I know what it is that I want to talk about, how I want to talk about it, how I want to present it. I literally take hours and like entire days sometimes just going through the things that I've done, that I've made, like the presentation and everything, and repeating it multiple times until I get it to the way and like version that I want it to be, the best version that I can make it. And once I'm finally completely sure, and I'm 100% sure that I remember everything, that is when I like calm down and I'm like, okay, I can do it. Of course, I still get stage fright, and I get scared before I get there and start doing it. But once I start doing it, once I'm in the zone, once everything is like going as planned, it's a lot smoother, it's a lot easier, and it feels a lot nicer and a lot like it's very enjoyable, especially when you look at it fondly afterwards. But yeah, those were definitely some of my best moments, in my opinion, like my most proud moments of myself, in a sense. And I hope that I get a chance to do it again, because as a game designer, video game designer, I've always hoped that I could represent my games, or games that I'm working on alongside other people, on a grander scale, on like Gamescom and other conferences and places where people might be interested, because I have a feeling like I can show people and actually get them to care enough to actually like be interested in both the game and what I'm talking about, because I like to think of it as like, I'm not sure if I really do have the talent to do that, but I'd like to try, because there's not a lot of people that would really be okay with it and that would really want to do it. I know that there's a lot of people that just don't want to do it, that want to be the back end, that just want to be the shadowy figures behind the game that do stuff and just make the game and then like get the credit and stuff. But like I would never mind being the public speaker type of person that does that, or just goes to conferences and stuff. And just find that would be both extremely fun, because you like get to travel a lot to all of these conferences. You get to experience these conferences and look at what other people do and gain experience and gain contacts and everything else. And you also get the experience and the exposure that your company or you or your team wanted. And it just ends up being like a win-win situation for everyone. Everyone that's willing to go, of course. As I said, not everybody wants to really go to these sorts of things. And but yeah, I hope that I get the chance, and that I can do this sort of stuff and actually be able to end up making something really cool and showing it off in a really cool manner. It's actually something that I'm going to have to do it's not like specifically that, but it's I'm doing like it's not even a finals exam, it's a pre-final exam. It's what, I don't even know how to call it. It's like the essential something, the things that you have to do. It's not even requirements. Actually it is. It's essentially, I'm doing something which is a requirement for the final exam that I need to do. And the topic wasn't game specifically or anything similar, but I did mention a lot of like indie games that were really popular, and I'm going to be talking about it tomorrow, since I basically need to defend the thing that I wrote and discuss it and like get into discussions with people. Hopefully not arguments, because I'm hoping that people will agree with me for the most part, or if they disagree, that I can actually give them some answers. That's the like main thing that I'm kind of scared of, like somebody asking me something and then me just being like, I don't know. Because yeah, it's just a question of what it is they're interested in and whether or not their question aligns with something that I can actually answer. Because I don't have all the answers. No one does. And oftentimes I find myself getting asked like some questions where I'm just like, I don't actually know an answer to that question, not because I couldn't make an answer. I could probably think on it for some time and get an answer, but in the moment, like, I've never thought about it. It hasn't crossed my mind, so I can't just instantly answer it. But yeah, that is about it, guys. Thank you for listening. I hope that you enjoyed this soft-spoken video. It's been really fun. I honestly should definitely do these more often, because they're a lot different from what I do regularly. They change up the entire formula of just whispering, and I'm sure a lot of you can also enjoy it in your own way. And I hope that you got some sleep or something interesting to listen to, or just some background noise or something to help you out. And yeah, that's that for me. Thank you for listening. Leave a like, it helps me out a lot. Leave a comment if you have anything to tell me, or if you just want to troll me or something. And of course, subscribe if you want more of this type of content. And I will see you guys in my next